Hey everybody, this is Rydo and we're back to another live stream of Hearthstone. Today is Wednesday, March 27th. Let's just jump in here and make sure the expansion hasn't happened. I feel like I've said, well, this expansion might come out at any point, and it seems like, unless it happened tomorrow on Thursday, since it's not happening today, it seems like we're probably good for at least until next Tuesday, and I think we're probably several weeks earlier than what this should be. Although that being said, they said on the shop that you would be able to open these before April 30th, so like it could be any point next month that the new expansion comes out, and they're just stringing us along quite a bit. Let's see, what do I want to do? Get rid of the wins. That'll be easier. No it isn't. Now we have to win 3 games with the Rogue Warrior. And we've got Tavern Brawls to do. I have nothing to report as far as doing anything. I took yesterday off, and I'm in a weird position because I kind of need to schedule things, and I'm in also this weird funk where I really don't have a clue until I have things scheduled what I want to play next. So there's not even anything really itching in the back of my head to be like, oh, this is the next game I want to play. I have plenty of games, of course, but that's pretty much it. So this Tavern Brawls, construct a deck from only cards from Journey to Ungoro, Knights of the Frozen Throne, and Kobolds and Catacombs. Alright, so the easiest thing I think to do here would be choose Rogue or Warrior. Let's go with Rogue. And, well, you know, I might play 12 Taunt Minions if I go with Warrior, so let's try Warrior. But we also have to win. So, Warrior, and then just say, complete my deck for me. Just let it pick. And that's the easiest thing to do. And now that to complete my deck, for the most part, is of a collection of cards that are somewhat useful and pretty good, there's really no reason to agonize over building your own decks at all, or basically ever build your own decks. In a weird way, they've come extremely close to making it completely unimportant to build your own decks and taking that whole aspect out of the game. But they let that happen by just not having enough variety in their cards, frankly, and putting too many things into Wild. We would have, I would guess, we would have no top tier meta decks that you could just play if every card that has ever been created for Hearthstone was still playable in Standard. It would just be too crazy, too weird, there'd be too many different strategies, and it would really require a lot of work. Let's just end the turn here and save the coin. So yeah, that whole aspect, I guess, is just gone forever. Let's see. I could play this, but there's really no reason. Could play this, just parody him. So yeah, I didn't play any games. I haven't done anything. There is a decent number of games that came out today, and there's a decent number of bits of news. As far as I can tell, there was no larger element to the like no larger element to the Sony State of Play. I've seen no new news reports on it at all or anything like that. It seems like that that was that we reported last stream. So let's just go through the news and have some streams, and maybe if I finish early I'll feel like I am energized enough to schedule some videos after that point. Let's see. Let's play that. Okay. So our first bit of news is from Gamatsu. World War Z adds a Tokyo map. Core game expands to 4 episodes. World War Z, I believe, is a DayZ clone, isn't it? Or is it not? Well, apparently World War Z hasn't come out for anything yet, so it's due out for the PS4, Xbox One, and PC on April 16th. I imagine it's not going to be any major success. The weird thing is, right now, I doubt that there's too many people that that have time to want to play a what looks like an MMO zombie game. And maybe it's not an MMO, maybe it's a single player, maybe it's just a 4-player co-op game, but when you compare that to what's going on right now with Fortnite and PUBG and Apex Legends, and there might be some people playing Destiny and Anthem, and there might be some people playing The Division. It seems like, at least in the past couple days, everybody's been playing Sekiro Shadows Die Twice, which is a even more difficult Dark Souls style game. Like the idea of, hey, this is just your standard zombie game that everybody has seen a million times over, it's not likely that would happen. Like, it's just not likely. We are going into the summer, and summer is something of a big time for games to come out. Like, you're gonna have kids and people in school getting out of school. You're going to have some free time there. You're gonna have particularly with global climate change, it being pretty difficult to go outside and do anything. We just started in spring in the United States, and I was outside and I'm like, oh my god, this is like the first day of spring, and it's already way too hot for the first day of spring. So I imagine extremely high temperatures are just the new norm. And yes, some people will probably try to go outside and play, but it will be less and less. So yeah, I imagine we are somewhat lined up to see a lot of games come out, same as 2018, which will continue the trend of games games that I could almost win with this. Interesting. So if I can just build up the armor a little bit more and get rid of this guy, 2 hits would get me so close.
What do you ask of me?
So yeah, we're about to have PAX. I probably buried the lead a little bit to say, to forget to mention that tomorrow Borderlands 3 is gonna have a live stream. So there's something big on the edge of being done. Let's see.
Reality breaks.
There you go. So yeah, there's something I suppose to be said about what will get announced. Like the Borderlands 3, it's gonna heavily rely on whether or not it's an Epic exclusive or not, because that is the fear right now. That is the 100% fear, is that this is just going to be a complete and total Epic exclusive, and then if that's the case, a lot of people are potentially not going to play it, which could be a problem for Borderlands, or might not be an issue at all, because there very possibly will be a large enough fan base in the Borderlands series that enough people get in it and play it, and you really only need 4 friends, and frankly playing with random people is probably not even the experience you want to have. There are many other fears about Borderlands 3 as far as just what is the level of quality of that game, and what is the feel you're gonna have with that game, because a lot of time has passed, a lot of things have changed.
There is a method to my madness.
It feels to me also, I'm totally out of whack as far as schedules, so without having anything looking at a calendar, I guess I do have a calendar that auto-populates this kind of information from OpenCritic, but without having looked at the calendar, it feels to me like there's definitely in the next week going to be a PAX. One of the PAXs is going to happen either, or is happening right now, and then that in the next 3 weeks we're going to start E3, which doesn't fully feel right, because it feels like it was only 6 months ago that we did another E3, and E3 only happens once a year, so I don't know if maybe it was actually a year ago that E3 happened. But yeah, there's seems like a lot of stuff is happening really fast, and it feels to me like there will be a lot of games coming out on a daily and weekly basis, probably till the end of the year, if not longer, and it won't be until January of 2020 until we get back into a real slow point. Alright.
For me!
Hit this. And this. And then hit this, I guess. Well, I'm gonna lose.
There is a method to my madness.
Moving on, we have a game on Steam here called Nova Drift that's just an asteroids game. It looks like it has a little bit more polish on it than most of the Asteroids clone games. Wow. I'm either feeling very generous today, or something else, but I'm willing to put this on the fall list because it looks like it has some polish to it, even though I know I hate Asteroids games. Let's see if we can see a reason in particular. There's different fighting here. Yeah, it looks like it's a bullet hell Asteroids game. I'm just watching the entire trailer here as I'm losing. 3 of 12 taunt minions were played, so we'll try again. You know what? Nova Drift looks good, and I'll just say it looks good, but it's still really not the kind of game I want to play. It's $14.99 right now with no discount. That's a pretty high price too. So I won't put it on the fall list, but I'll give it a shout out. That's I guess the best I can do. Next we have a game on Steam called Collider, which looks like it's a low effort pixel snake style game as far as I can tell, or maybe it's just boxes on a platforming aspect. Yeah, it looks like you're more just platforming and jumping. It's $1.19. Yeah, nothing there of interest. It looks incredibly boring and incredibly badly made. Speaking of badly made, I think that's a fair comparison here. We have A Maze Easter from Blender Games, who are intent on flooding Steam with variants of their same game over and over again. A Maze Easter is discounted for 74 cents. I don't know, like, it comes down to the question, would Valve really win the favor of other publishers and other developers if they were to say, Blender Games, get off our platform, because you are technically violating our rules of just selling the same game over and over again? Because they sort of are and they sort of aren't. Like, what Steam doesn't want you to do is make the exact same game with the exact same levels and sell it under different names on Steam. They don't really care in A Maze's case, where they're making different levels, or at least it seems like they're making different levels, and then using those different levels to make a series of low effort games. So since the mazes are different in every game, I assume they are, that they're falling within the lines. But what that has the knock-on effect of is that there are like 30 A Maze games on Steam. The question I suppose to ask next would be, are all of those A Maze games getting seen by anybody, or are they just on Steam and being suggested only to people who really like A Maze games, or Maze games in general? That it's possible that it's not really showing up in anybody's discovery queue, and it's also very possible that discovery queues are pointless things that don't matter. Moving on, Gematsu has an article over here. Snow Battle Princess Sayuki is coming to the PS4 on April 4th in Japan. This looks like it's probably a not that interesting digital game. I wouldn't be surprised. It was first released for the PlayStation 2 in 2008 in Japan, followed by Switch via the eShop in December 2018, and PC worldwide. Switch version will be released in the West on March 28th. So let's go over to their Steam page and see if there's something here. Gain 5 armor, gain 10 more armor. So, Snow Battle Princess Sayuki seems to be kind of a fast-paced top-down shooter in a Japanese aesthetic to fight enemies. It looks like it's a little bit more of a combo score-based game, kind of like a Warriors game if you were gonna make a top-down 8-bit game here. What's interesting is this came out March 26, 2019. It has no reviews, so I can put this on the follow list. Seems like it's been released to a lot of different platforms, but it wants $14.99, so that's a pretty high price that they're asking for. Alright, spend all of my armor and deal that much damage to all minions. Or do this.
Warriors of the frozen wastes.
This is slightly big news for fans of lewd game series Senran Kagura. Kenichiro Takaki, let me just show his name. Kenichiro Takaki leaves Marvelous, remains the producer of the Senran Kagura series. Takaki to take on new ventures after 13 years at Marvelous. This is a new trend to me, at least, as far as Japanese people really being willing to leave a company. Like, usually what you'll find is that even under the worst working conditions, Japanese have this sense of devotion that is for life. There have been issues, and I don't know if this is particularly, if it was really issues though between Marvelous and its employee, as much as it was issues with Sony censoring a lot of their games. And so perhaps what this came down to is Marvelous Entertainment as a corporation could not be disloyal to, did not want to be insulting or disloyal to Sony, so Marvelous Entertainment as an entity has to continue to make games for Sony. However, the producer can then, who was probably, I would guess, a big part of Marvelous Entertainment, and all the skilled staff, I suspect, will just slowly move over to a new company that has no already established relationship with Sony, and then you'll start seeing them make either PC or more likely Switch exclusive styles of games. That could be what's going on here. The article goes on, Senran Kagura series producer Kenichiro Takaki has left Marvelous to set sail on a new voyage, but he will continue to work as the, quote, huge boobs producer of titles like Senran Kagura, the latest issue of Weekly Famitsu reveals. Takaki, who earned the, quote, huge boobs producer nickname due to his hand in games like Senran Kagura, worked for Marvelous for 13 years. In March 2017, Takaki was placed in charge of his own subsidiary called Honey Parade Games. And so I don't know if that means that he's going to work for Honey Parade's games, or if he's moved away from that too. A lot of this might mean nothing, actually. We've got plenty of armor, but can we get more armor?
What now?
Yes, we can.
Well played. I must choose.
Can't attack heroes. Darn it! What a terrible weapon. Can't attack heroes, but it can do massive amounts of damage. The March 28th issue of Weekly Famitsu. So in a couple days we'll get the full interview regarding his resignation, including the reason he left, the future of the Senran Kagura series, and his plan for new ventures and a new multimedia project in the work for Marvelous. There's an update here. First tidbits have come out in the Weekly Famitsu.
Not
According to the magazine, Takaki's biggest reasons for leaving Marvelous were restrictions on the depiction of sexual content. He felt that a thread had snapped within him. He said that while sexual content is often criticized, there are many that enjoy it. Takaki believed that such variation was one of the things that supported the game industry, but when it was so easily broken, it made him think about various things. Takaki welcomes restrictions and regulations that protect specific scopes and genres. However, he feels the recent trend will definitely have a chilling effect. So it is 100% the censorship, and I guess maybe Marvelous was just going along with Sony censorship. Or maybe Marvelous was doing its own level of censorship. Takaki wants to make traditional fantasy-esque games like the games he went crazy for as a kid. He is now at Cygames, CYGAMES, working on console titles. Takaki will properly finish up his work on his currently in production titles, Senran Kagura 7, however, will take some time. While the base of the game will not change, Takaki is working on parts that must be changed. After that, either he or someone else will complete and deliver it to the fans. They're taking their exotic gags more seriously than ever before. They're taking their erotic gags more serious than ever before. Takaki will cooperate with existing staff on Senran Kagura while leaving the adjustments to Marvelous internally and continuing his existence as the quote huge boobs producer. So I mean, this was a big thing to him. Like, this isn't just, oh, it's nothing, it didn't matter. That this was his passion, for better or worse. Let's see. Let's take this guy out. So yeah, it continues. Takaki is also working on a new multimedia project published by Marvelous that involves both a game and an anime. Character designed by Hanaharu Naruko, and the anime is directed by Hiraku Kaneko. And none of these names sound familiar to me, but frankly, I would not be the type of person to know. Let's suppose hit this for 1, and then hit that.
Not quite what was planned.
Let's see.
I will be
the game and anime series is unrelated to the Senran and Kagura series. There will be beautiful girls, but unlike Takaki's previous games, they will remain clothed. It'll be an orthodox style and fervorous game. Development started about 1.5 years ago. And then the image in the weekly Famitsu shows a girl riding something that looks like a motorcycle. According to Takaki, he wants to show something that will make people say he made something amazing, even though he's the Opie producer with SAS. Opie being the Japanese word for boobs. I think boobs in general, I don't think it specifically is any size of boobs as a director.
Well played.
Let's see, the next paragraph, there's a quote, even if my place of work or the nature of my titles changes, what I show won't change, and I don't want it to, Takaki says. I am a game fan at heart. I tell dirty jokes and make irresponsible comments, and then he laughs in parentheses. But I'll work my hardest to make games. It is unknown at this time, the article continues, whether this title has any connection to side games. So, yeah. There's a big change there. Very big change for a Japanese developer. And all having to do, I think, in part, if not completely, with the fact that Sony of Japan moved their headquarters, Sony Interactive Entertainment moved their headquarters to California, and the California SJWs there initiated what is probably the most audience deaf policies ever, because this is totally the level of censorship that's happening on not just games like Senran and Kagura, but censorship happening on things like Devil May Cry 5 that just came out. Whereas the exact same games are coming out uncensored on the Nintendo platform and the Microsoft platform. It has just gone ridiculously insane as far as what they have implemented, and it's likely to only get worse before it gets better. But on the other hand, maybe this is a good thing. Maybe this is just the end of the Sony. If you were thinking about buying the next PlayStation, I would heavily suggest against it, because if the Japanese mentality is very much about fads and following the herd, and so if other developers who don't make adult games start saying that the developers who do make adult games stop making Sony games, then everybody will stop eventually making Sony games. And I think that is a very likely possibility that the next generation will be smartphones and Switches as far as consoles available in Japan. I wouldn't go as crazy as to say that the Microsoft Xbox is going to start becoming popular in Japan. It might become a little bit popular, but not really. but I think there may just be no console that's particularly popular in Japan, and they will move to a PC world. The one thing that was stopping a lot of people from being PC oriented in Japan was the fact that PCs were big. PCs aren't that big anymore, so that problem can be solved. So I imagine they still wouldn't have full tower computers in their houses, but they very well may start seeing more laptops in houses. Also, we might start to see more pachinko style arcades get converted over to gaming centers, which have been popular in Japan, well, in Asia for a while now. So I wouldn't be surprised if we did start seeing more of that too. Unfortunately, this is just one small story in a river of a story that's going to continue going for a while here. Sony's state of play certainly didn't help anything, and that is kind of all the same story. We're in the downfall, it seems to me, of Sony Entertainment and Sony as a video game company. And it's just going to take a really long time for that to fully happen. I don't know if there's much I can do. I can do this, this, and this.
You cannot.
That's kind of all I have to. I can do.
Thank you.
Moving on, we have an article from Gematsu. We're getting a lot of articles from Gematsu. Where's my mouse? Let's move it over here. Grand Blue Fantasy Relink is in development with the same number of staff as when it was co-developed by Platinum Games. This was Platinum Games apparently were no longer involved in Grand Blue Fantasy. I've heard of Grand Blue Fantasy as a series, but I really don't know anything. It's in development for the PS4. Release date is yet to be announced, but saying it has the same number of staff as when Platinum was co-developing it means that the development team that is, well, it's actually Cygames again. Interesting. So these are both from the Famitsu article, so I imagine Famitsu just had an interview with Cygames and interviewed several different people in that positions. So that means Cygames has added and replaced all the number of staff that Platinum Games left. I don't know if maybe that puts Platinum Games in a bad light though, because I imagine Platinum Games is just working on like a new Nier Automata or something like that. Something that they're probably more directly related to and connected to. So that is really a wait and see, and we'll see whether the game is better or worse, or seems like it was affected at all by those kinds of changes.
I'm warning you. I'm unstable.
Platinum Games has been developing a closer and closer relationship with Nintendo, so it might just have been that Nintendo gave them work so that they would stop making a PlayStation exclusive game. And we're definitely in probably the earlier point, the earlier half of the end of PlayStation, because there still are a lot of games that are getting announced for PlayStation, but very few that are only PlayStation. Most of them now are PlayStation and Switch, or PlayStation and PC, or PlayStation and Switch and everything else. And I don't suspect over the course of the next year or anything we'll start seeing too many games that are PlayStation and Switch and Xbox and Google Stadia and Google and Amazon Arcade, which it turns out that Amazon Arcade is a subscription service, and I may have a little bit more information about it now.
I'm out of cards.
With it being a subscription service, that might change the calculation a little bit, but I'm probably not by much. It still feels like there aren't too many games on it to be hyped up about. But I guess that's better than Amazon getting paid exclusives. Because if they did just pay a lot of money for paid exclusives that could only be played on Apple products, that would be annoying. Next we have a game on Steam here called Gadgeteer. This looks like it is a VR version of a Domino's game. It doesn't look terrible, but yeah. Does it require VR? I don't know. It says it's coming soon, apparently. So let's not put this on the follow list until it's actually out. All blue dominoes are kind of ugly. I would want to see that fixed pretty quickly. But the general idea of a marble, I guess it's more of a marble machine as it is a dominoes thing. It's like half dominoes, half marble. I do have more health than this guy does, but he can just, unless I could kill all these people. There's not a lot I could do here. Yeah, unless this guy just decides to stop attacking. There's nothing I can do here. Next we have a game on Steam called Nihon Go Toki. Says it's a casual indie game. Helps you learn Japanese by turning boring studies into a fun game, memorizing different things. This looks like it's a programming game from the look of it. Memorizing the alphabet has never been so fun. This is probably, if I was to guess, a low effort, oh, we'll teach you Japanese. Again, every time I see one of these, learning to read Japanese, not useful at all. Yeah, it's not a programming game. It's just that this trailer is showing some of the showing some pseudo programming code, not real programming code, fake programming code. $14.99, English only in the interface. Not even the right market there. If you are gonna make a learn Japanese game, it should also support Japanese as a language, because heck, you might sucker some kids in Japan into playing these games and learning something a little bit better. But yeah, learning to read Japanese, pretty useless. You need to know how to speak it. So unless you already are fairly, like, verbally fluent in Japanese, these games don't even begin to start to make sense, and none of them look that good. Moving on, we have a game on Steam called Jungle Adventures. That's a extremely undescriptive, low effort title in my opinion. This doesn't look terrible, but it does kind of just look like it's an asset flip or an experiment in a VR game. This thumbnail looks very, very anime when the art style here does not look anime at all. and so that is questionable. Yeah, this seems like it's probably a VR platformer shooter game. Requires VR, $9.99, single player only. So it is kind of like a platformer shooter game. I think it's probably a mistake in any VR game to just give a player two guns. Like, that's silly. You don't need that. It's a VR first-person shooter game. It looks to me like probably they bought a lot of assets here. There's a little bit more polish, but there's clearly a low-effort title, a low-effort thumbnail that doesn't match anything. They want $9.99, which is probably about $3 too cheap for a game like this. And the gameplay looks like it's kind of randomly generated and pretty boring. I may have to exit out because I think we're stuck here on an infinite spinning wheel. It's not that like my internet's messed up, so let me just exit out and launch back in. Meanwhile, while that's launching, we have another game on Steam called Gawk, I assume is how that's pronounced, G-O-K. Let's see. Gawk of Kingdom, it's an adventure warrior of 3 kingdoms on forgotten territory. Let's see. It looks like it's probably just fighting, maybe a dungeon crawler game. Early access for $8.99. Seems like all the cutscene is just watching a guy walk across a platform. So here you have an example of a trailer that has no intention whatsoever of actually showing you what the game is. Here you have a poorly described and formatted comment. He's trying to put bolds and italics in there, which I don't think is even allowed in Steam. Here you have what seems to be Russian. It says English and Russian. So yeah, I would assume that this is a low-effort Russian game. I wouldn't particularly call it a Russian troll game, but just a low-effort Russian game. Alright. Let's get back in here and try this one more time. Game Center has an article. EA closes its Japan and Russia offices amid mass layoffs. Now, mass layoffs are a matter of opinion. They laid off 350 staff members across all of their organization, and that is a lot. I guess maybe that is mass layoffs, but it is worth mentioning that EA has like 10,000 employees, so well, I mean, even at that, you're talking not like 3% of your workforce about there, so just a rough number. So yeah, EA having a Japanese office and a Russian office probably wasn't helping them much anyways. Because let's face it, EA's 5 games that they released are not particularly Russia-centric or Japanese-centric. The marketing, publishing, and operations departments were the hardest hit in the layoffs. So, does EA, for the games they make, really need a Russian office or a Japanese office to promote FIFA and Battlefront and Battlefield and like NBA 2K? Because that's really all they have, is about four games, 2 of which are sports games that are going to either sell well or sell badly just based on the region. regardless of the advertisement and the marketing and publishing. And then you have 2 shooter games that probably aren't going to sell as well as they would like anyways. This is probably the type of action that will be taken this month, and then next month the president of EA will give himself a bonus of more money than what they saved by the layoffs. And inherently, you can blame the top management of EA for their terrible bad practices, but a lot of it does have to fall directly on the fact that this is just capitalism in a nutshell. This is what happens when you let people, shareholders, own a company. And I would like to see an experiment at the very least. And I don't know if you even really need to experiment with this, but to be generous, I would like to see an experiment where a company like EA was said, no, you're too big, we're breaking you up into like 5 different, or well, let's say 4 different private companies with no shareholders, and see how those companies are run. Whether that is a better or worse scenario for society in general and the employees that work there. Because a lot of the layoffs, almost all the layoffs at EA are based on just trying to manipulate shareholder price, stock price, versus a need for actual cash or a need to actually reduce employee count because you've got nothing that you can do with them.
Job's done.
Moving on, we have a game on Steam called Windscape. It says play as a young girl living on your parents' farm set totally blah. What does this say? Indie first person action RPG, action adventure RPG. Looks like you're on a farm and then you're gonna do some dungeon crawling and maybe some dragon slaying and some survival Minecraft stuff. I don't know how much of a game there really is here, but it is rated very positively. So I don't know about whether I would even be willing to do Minecraft stuff nowadays, even if it was just this is your tutorial section. This might very well just be an infinitely going forward Minecraft concept. $15.99 discounted right now, and it's from Head Up Games, which, let's see, Head Up Games, I could have sworn I know them from something, but I don't recognize any of these games at all. The developer is Magic Sandbox. Head Up Games made The Texorcist and Bridge Constructor Portal. Maybe that's where I heard their name last, is because from the game The Texorcist as a publisher. They've got a lot of games here. A lot of them, though, I don't recognize. And then Magic Sandbox. Well, with these new things, you can't even see what Magic Sandbox actually made. Windscape, I think, deserves a follow. They've left early access, and so they were probably early access up until this point. and we'll give it some time and see. I suppose there is a point where you do have to say, well, now that this is out of early access, maybe there will be a different feeling, because it's possible that they've left early access and not really finished a lot of the problems that people complained about, or it's possible that they've left early access and fixed everything and now you have a complete game that's actually worth playing. Moving on, Gematsu has an article. Dragon Quest XI introduces the latest Japanese voice actors, additional new features, and DLC, quote, voice drama, plus plenty of new gameplay footage. So the latest voice actors means they've just given a name to more characters, voice actors. Let's see. Dragon Quest XI is, I believe, the Switch version. Well, we got one daily quest then. Warrior's not working. Let's try Rogue. Now, delete that. And give me a Rogue deck. And just build this. We're kind of back to annoying tavern brawls that take forever. So it seems like several improvements for this new version. For this new Switch version. Of course, it still doesn't really feel like Dragon Quest XI-S is too much different than what you could get for Dragon Quest XI for the PS4 or PC, and also the 3DS in Japan. So I wouldn't be super upset or feel like you really need to play that game on the Switch. On the other hand, since it is a JRPG, having the mobility of the Switch, which one assumes you will always have on the Switch, even though they are potentially gonna hit a point where they might release a Switch that is docked only. That's a rumor, but no real evidence to that. Having that mobility while playing a JRPG would be very helpful. Let's see.
I'm warning you. I'm unstable.
So we can point this out. Here's Borderlands.com with this mask trailer that they've put out. Tune in to the Gearbox panel March 28th, 2 p.m. Eastern Daylight Time, or 6 p.m. Greenwich Mean Time, or 5 a.m. Australian Eastern Daylight Time. Is that what that is? So I suspect heavily there will be a real announcement for Borderlands 3 here. But I think a lot of the other things that they were teasing and saying as far as games coming to PAX are not going to be real announcements. Or if they are real announcements, they're not going to be super interesting announcements.
The future is ours.
What does this one say? Play the rightmost card in your hand? So, if I do this, I'll draw a card.
Behold the tools of creation. Return to nothing.
So yeah. In the end, I suspect we won't be seeing a lot of Borderlands 3. We'll probably get a location. We'll probably get a list of 3 to 6 playable characters.
I'm warning you. I'm unstable.
Behold the tools of creation.
And yeah, I don't know if there's.
Return to nothing.
I really don't think that there's much else that's going to be happening as far as that. Like, we might get some more upsell about how there will be a bazillion guns, or bazillion upon a bazillion guns, and we might get some indications of new types of enemies. My guess from the trailer, with everything being shown in white statues and having some heavy angel themes to it, is that the growing jokish cult that has been around, particularly in Borderlands 2, there's always a quest called the Cult of the Vault, where you have to find the vault symbol, and psychos have the vault symbol on their face and their masks all the time, and that's what the mask is. My guess is the Cult of the Vault has grown stronger and taken over. They may have taken over all of Pandora with Hyperion and Handsome Jack being gone. And so they may have just overrun the planet. We know that, I think it's already been said, that some of Borderlands 3 will take place on Pandora, or at least that was the rumor. So
Return to nothing. Justice
so
is mine.
that would make sense. They'll probably just talk about the content on Pandora and then tease that, oh yes, there will be 3 other planets that you go to, and that'll be it. I wouldn't be surprised if it's a 4-act story where in the first act you're in Pandora, and then the second act you move to another planet. Let's see. Gematsu has the media create sales for 3/18 through 3/24. Let's see. So software sales. The new ones are number 1, Sekiro Shadows Die Twice, then Super Robot Wars T. This is Japanese sales. And then let's see. Super Robot Wars T again for number 3. Oh yeah, it is the PlayStation version, and then the Switch version.
I don't need any of
played that wrong. Let's see. And then Chocobo's Mystery Dungeon, Atelier Lua, the Scion of Arland is number 5. Chocobo's Mystery Dungeon for the PS4, the other one was for the Switch. And so those top 6, all of which are new, knocks Super Smash Bros. Ultimate down in sales to 7. Dead or Alive Extreme 3 Scarlet, which for a very brief time was available, I think, for free on Steam to Westerners by accident. So maybe it will come to the West, but I heavily suspect no, it won't, because the Dead or Alive Extreme version of the Dead or Alive games are the things that the SJWs really, really hate. It's number 11 in Japan. The Nintendo Switch version of Atelier Lulua, the Scion of Arland, is way lower than the PS4 version. That's slightly interesting. Last time I saw these media create sales, Nintendo was taking all the top slots, and now Nintendo's in the bottom slots. The Nintendo Switch version of Dead or Alive Extreme 3 Scarlet took the 20th slot. And I don't think there's really any major change here. The distances, I think, every week between how many Switches sell versus how many PlayStation 4s sell versus how many 2DSs, 3DSs, and Vitas and Xbox Ones sell. Like, there's always such a big gap between that
The sun has set for me.
it's unlikely that
Justice
would ever
is
change.
mine.
But it is, I suppose, in my speculation that we are seeing the beginning of the end for the PlayStation. The Nintendo Switch in Japan sold 56,099 units which is just about what it sold last week, whereas the PlayStation 4 original version sold 27,061 units, which is actually a couple thousand more than they sold last week. And the PlayStation 4 sold 7,834 units, which is just about what it sold last week. So if you add the PlayStation 4 Pro to the PlayStation 4 units, you get about 34,000, maybe 35,000 if you're generous. Well below what the Switch alone sells. And if you were going to be really fair here, I would then add to the Switch's 56,000 sales the fact that a significant number of 2DSs sold this week. 2,300 sold this week, where only about 800 sold last week, and 912 new 3DS LLs sold this week, which is about the same as it did there. So if you add all the Nintendo console things, the Nintendo portables and the Nintendo Switch together, which you really don't even have to do, you'd still get it way higher. There's like a 16,000 unit difference every week. So yeah, people are moving to the Switch. The one thing here in this hardware sales list is PCs, and it would be pretty difficult to calculate PCs sales because you would have to really know how many people are buying PCs for work reasons and how many people are buying PCs for gaming reasons in Japan, and that would be very hard, very hard to do. Let's see. I don't think that would work. Let's just draw 2 cards. And your turn. Moving on, TechRaptor has an article. Humble chops up to 67% off of Bethesda's games in the Publisher Week sale. I don't believe this is a Humble bundle, though. I believe this is just a sale where you can buy Bethesda games. This is because Morrowind's anniversary happened, and in fact you could get Morrowind for free, theoretically, off of the Bethesda launcher. But more importantly, I think, is I may already own Morrowind. All of Bethesda's games that were Bethesda launchers are coming back to Steam. So if TechRaptor mentions a few games here that, like, if you don't have the Elder Scrolls special Skyrim special edition, or you really want Oblivion or Morrowind, Morrowind in particular, and everything before Skyrim, would really require you to make a special effort to add mods to it to make it playable in a reasonable state. because there's just a lot of bugginess in Bethesda games. Fallout New Vegas, a non-Bethesda game. Fallout Tactics, Brotherhood of Steel, they're mentioning. Prey, I don't think I ever got Prey. Dishonored 2, I don't think I ever got Dishonored 2. So if I was rolling in cash right now, I'd go to the storefront and see what you could really get. You gotta be a little careful here because Fallout 76 is $40, but it would just give you a key to the Bethesda launcher, so you've got to. I would heavily recommend
Justice is mine.
keeping an eye out for what games are actually going to give you Steam codes versus what games are going to just give you garbage.
The sun has set for me. Justice is mine. Quickly.
So yeah, you can get Doom, which I think I already own, the Ultimate Doom, the old Doom, Fallout 4, Dishonored 2, Prey, Skyrim Special Edition, Wolfenstein 2, The New Colossus, I don't believe I own that, Fallout 4 Season Pass, which someone gifted me Fallout 4 but didn't give me the Season Pass, so I could buy that if I was rolling in cash. Unfortunately, I'm really not rolling in cash, and buying a bunch of Bethesda games that I probably wouldn't get around to playing is probably not the best use of my money. Wolfenstein The New Order, Fallout New Vegas Ultimate Edition, Fallout 3 Game of the Year Edition, which would be the only version you should buy of that. If there is another version you can get, I would work really hard to avoid that.
Immortality.
Yeah, Morrowind, Game of the Year Edition, Elder Scrolls 4 Oblivion, Game of the Year Edition, Evil Within 2, I think I bought that, Wolfenstein The Old Bloods, or Wolfenstein The New Colossus Deluxe. I guess you have to be kind of careful here, because there's a lot of Wolfenstein games. I'm not sure which ones I have and which ones I don't. Dishonored, Death of the Outsider. Prices on these are not bad, and you are getting Steam keys for everything. The Enemy Within, the Evil Within bundle. Dishonored 1. Dishonored 1 is $3.29, but the complete collection is what would be all the games. Rage is $3.29. Dishonored, Death of the Outsider Deluxe Edition, Fallout 2, Fallout 3, not the Game of the Year Edition. There's too many editions. Frankly, I would not be putting some of these on sale at all. I would just say forget it. Either buy the Game of the Year Edition or don't buy the game. Prey Moon Crash is still $10 discounted. That's maybe a little too expensive there. Let's see, Prey Deluxe Edition is $20. These are all over the place in the Doom Classic Complete. Is that the same as Ultimate Doom, or is that different? That's a good question. A bunch of Fallout DLC, Call of Cthulhu, Quake 4. It seems like, with the exception of Fallout 76, all of these games are Steam keys. Rage has some DLC called the Scorchers. Did I buy that? Bunch of DLC at the bottom here. A game called Rogue Warrior I haven't heard of. Yeah, there's quite a lot of games, and with the exception of some of the DLC in Fallout 76, they all seem to be giving you Steam codes. So now would be probably a good point to get into Bethesda games if you wanted to get into Bethesda games and you haven't gotten around to it.
Don't mess with me!
Let's see. Next we have a game on Steam called Haramatai. Or Haramatia? Haramatia, maybe? Looks like it's kind of a puzzle platformer. I'm a little iffy here whether I'd call this an art style or whether I'd call this just bad graphics. Let's look at the price. I think I'll put this on the follow list unless the price is really high. At $2.68 discounted in early access, I'll put this on the follow list, see what people think about it. This might be an interesting Limbo-esque game, or it might just be a boring experience. Alright. What would this one do? 1/1 copy of a minion from your hand. If I played this before I killed that, that would be cool. Let's do that.
Don't mess with me!
Do that. I got lucky there. And do that.
Job's done.
TechRaptor has an article. Square Enix restores offline play to Final Fantasy X-10-2 HD Remaster. Yesterday on it was reported yesterday that the March 7th, 2019 they introduced a patch to the Steam version of Final Fantasy X-10-2 HD Remaster that caused the game to not to launch if you were in offline mode, whether you had a connection to the internet or were in offline mode, whether you had no connection to the internet or were in offline mode of Steam. This new requirement caused players of the game, I assume is what they meant to type, to review bomb the game due to the change in behavior, resulting in 70+ negative reviews in the last day or so. Well, it looks like Square Enix has reactivated or reacted as a new patch on March 27th has reverted changes, and testing by TechRaptor has confirmed that the issue has been resolved. So here is the question to ask, I suppose, on that. Was this a attempt on their part to force always-on activation onto an old game for no reason, just for, I guess, control or telemetrics, or I mean, who knows what the real reason would be? That was a mistake. Or was this just a bug? Like, many people left to the conclusion the patch that it included a new DRM, but that doesn't appear to be the case. The issue seems to have been an unintended consequences of attempting to hook into other Steam features. Let's see. TechRaptor's final paragraph here says the game never seemingly get to a review boom review bomb status despite the number of negative reviews, so it's unclear going forward whether issues like this would be a justifiable reason to still count those reviews based on Steam's new review bomb policy. I bet Steam does not actually use their review bomb thing at all until for a very long time. My suspicion is they simply said they were going to do that so that to back off the Chinese like trolls, and that was all that really meant. So I bet they don't count. They don't say anything is quote unquote a review bomb, or as Steam was calling them, were off-topic review bombs or something like that. Whereas this certainly is on topic, in my opinion. The fact that the game does not launch in offline mode, a feature that Steam owns, is directly going to affect a good percentage of the people playing. It's not out of the game in the sense that DRM, the fact that a game has DRM but it works, is probably good enough for Steam to ignore that. Alright, I'm gonna just delete this now because I'm tired of this, and I'm just gonna play my odd paladin deck. Well, I guess I can't do that, so let's see what we can do with paladin. Jeez, I don't even know if this is the right deck to go with. Let's just play. Play Hunter. Just want to get a freaking win at this point. I hate these tavern brawls like this. It's so stupid. Like, I've been playing for an hour and 10 minutes and I haven't gotten one freaking victory. This should not be the experience that somebody is having, particularly when I'm getting up to rank 13 in ranked play. So yeah, I guess we'll keep an eye out on Final Fantasy
Shall be mine. Let the hunt begin.
Final Fantasy 10-10-2 and see if those 70 plus negative reviews really matter. Maybe 70 plus isn't even enough to trigger the review bomb amount. I imagine Final Fantasy 10-10-2 is probably not like a game that's under reviewed by that much. Let's see. Let's do a little journalism ourselves and just go over to Steam's page. Come on. Amazon. Where's the Steam link?
Quickly. Hunt alone.
PC. Okay, so here is Final Fantasy X-10-2 HD Remastered on Steam. It is 47% positive of 128 reviews in the last 30 days. whereas it is 89% positive of 6,000 reviews over the lifetime of the game. So, yeah. While it will have this brief bump for 30 days downward that will quickly get absorbed, and it did something very helpful for the consumer by it being reviewed. So, review bombs in this first instance, to my knowledge, have actually succeeded in actually causing a positive effect. Let's see. If it's like, here's a negative review over here. Single player offline game 3 years after the release receives a patch forcing online play at all times when the game has no online functionality. And if we come over here to the graph, you can see, yes, there is 65 negative reviews one day, 14 negative reviews the next day, whereas in the previous time there's been no real negative reviews. But looking here, the way this graph is depicted, when we go back to the beginning section, when it first came out, there was 128 negative reviews. So, like, and it's really only gotten little spikes of negative reviews, you know, over its entire lifetime. So this is hardly a bomb.
I wonder.
You would have to have had over 1,600 negative reviews to even bring it down the initial hype of the game, let alone all of the little bumps. Maybe this instance, it would be naive to assume that this is true, but one could hope that maybe this instance has even internally shown the value of negative reviews to more people inside of Valve, and Valve is now going to be even more less willing to discount negative reviews and call them off-topic review bombs. But honestly, I really suspect they will never use that feature. They got too much pushback from it, and
I don't need any of
too much upset people about it for it to be worth it. TechRaptor has another article here. The Witcher card game spin-off Gwent is heading to smartphones this year. Too little, too late. Unfortunately, like, Gwent should have been on smartphones from day one. They should not have even released that game until it could be played on smartphones. Why they would have thought that that was a good idea is beyond me. Seriously? I should have not done that. I need a silence card, and I bet I don't have anything.
Unleash me.
I bet I have no silence cards at all. TechRaptor has an article. WayForward announces Shanti for console, Shanti 5 for consoles, PC, and Apple Arcade. Shanti series is the platformer genie girl. This is her hair in the shape of a 5. That is most closely to a PC clone of Super Mario Brothers. But yeah, I guess that's pretty much all you can say about it. So I've been trying to play the Shanti series for quite a while, and I'm missing like the remastered version of the first game. The first game was released on like Game Boy or something, Game Boy Color, and I'm looking for the first game that was released on PC, and the naming system is not as well explained as, or doesn't make it as much sense as I would like it to. So yeah, it'll be nice when that actually comes out, but I guess at the moment Shanti doesn't have a Steam link or anything, so that's not a big issue. Does he have a card that will do 3 damage? Well, I'm about to lose again, and sucks. I suppose after this game we should just break it up into the next recording. Next we have a game on Steam called Strength Check, which is clearly a troll game. I'd almost call this an art style, but this is just an infinite runner with a bunch of assets. There's nothing here of interest, and having a trailer where at the beginning of the trailer the what is this? Where the guy's just dancing around is ridiculous. It says 59 cents discounted. Yeah, I'd call this a low effort troll game. Maybe not even a troll game, just a low effort game. It looked like a troll game on the first appearance. I guess if I could go 7 turns and survive 7 turns. TechRaptor has an article here. Soul Calibur 6 collectible card game launches April 5th. The set is part of the Universal Fighting System card game. This feels like this is more of a Japanese card game that hasn't come over to the West. Apparently the Universal Fighting System includes sets for Street Fighter, Mega Man, Dark Stalkers, and others. Well, apparently there's a UFS Turbo World Championship in Omaha, Nebraska on March 29th, so it must be somewhat popular. I've never heard of it. Freaking hate this. I freaking hate this. I'm going to spend the entirety of this evening doing this. I'm gonna have to put off these tavern brawls. I mean, I'm gonna even just like walk away because this is really pissing me off. Like, I freaking hate these tavern brawls, and they want you to do it once every week, and it's always waste an hour and a half trying to win. Meanwhile, while I'm trying to get one freaking victory, we've got daily quests you also have to do. I need at least one of these daily quests gone, and the right move would be to get 3 victories with a rogue warrior. And I was, for the most part, trying to get 3 victories with a rogue warrior while doing the tavern brawl, and there's not enough overlap there because you can't get a victory. I hate the win ratio of Hearthstone. Every new expansion, it just gets worse too. It's just more time. It's just more frustration. And I have so many cards on this. This is my main account, and it's still not good enough. It still doesn't matter. So on that rant, I'm going to end this recording, and then I'm going to step away for a second and just stretch my legs and then we'll start the recording again on the Americas account, having accomplished only one America's daily quest. We still have the European account with daily quests to do. We still have the Asian account with things to do. That's going to be it for this recording. As always, I ask you to like, share, subscribe, comment, and watch every second of my videos. If you want to friend or follow me on any social media sites, there's a whole bunch of links down below. And if you want to support me even further, there's a link to Patreon, or you can friend me on Steam and gift me a game off my wishlist. Thank you for watching. Have a good evening.